This is Rating Descending,
where we watch IMDb's bottom 250 so you don't have to.
My name is Abigail Ward.
And I'm Michelle St. Clair.
And tonight we're watching Zoolander 2. Derek and Hansel are lured into modelling again, in Rome, where they find themselves the target of a sinister conspiracy. Let's watch. What's up, man?
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
Turns out therapy makes you feel better.
That's cool.
It's weird.
I wouldn't know.
You wouldn't. I had some solid sleep. I had like a couple days off. I got to talk to my therapist.
You seem good. You seem happy.
Right? It's weird. I seem better than last week where I was underslept and overworked and not talking to anyone about my feelings.
Yeah, which is where I'm currently at.
Yeah.
I'd like to say that I'll be in your position next week, but no, that's good. I'm glad it's working for you. You are one of the numerous people that are begging me to go to therapy, but
yeah,
it is something I'm going to look into this year. If anything could push me into therapy, it's fucking 2020.
Yeah.
It's this goddamn year.
That's the positive.
Yeah.
To draw from it.
I feel like the second time Melbourne went into lockdown, I was kind of like, okay, yeah, maybe. And then we went to stage 4 and I was like, now I need to talk to someone about my feelings.
Second time's the charm.
Yeah.
To once, twice, three times
a lady.
Therapist. it's nothing.
That's gibberish.
It's not anything.
That's good. I'm glad you're feeling better. Truth be told, we actually watched this film a couple days ago, but when we recorded it, I had a pretty big mental breakdown, so we just stopped. Because I'm in a lot of pain at the moment. Like,
yeah.
I have a mystery virus that I had at the end of last year, and it's inexplicably returned, which results in me having very sore eyes, very red eyes, and a very sore back and lots of pains in my chest. And, like, it's bad if I have to go to the doctor, because I'm going to the doctor tomorrow, which I'm actually excited about. That's how bad it is. Like, I'm keen to go into an office and just throw my hands out and be like, what's wrong with me? Look at me, touch me, feel me. What is this?
Well, the running theory for a while was lupus, but then it also was not lupus.
Yeah, well, they thought it was lupus, and then they gave me antibiotics and the whole thing went away. Now I'm thinking,
okay,
it was lupus. And the antibiotics didn't treat it, and it happened to just settle down for a while.
Yeah.
So I might actually have an autoimmune disease. All these symptoms keep pointing to them, but I'm not going to jump to conclusions until a certified doctor tells me so.
No, this is the announcement.
Guys!
It's exciting.
That's why we wanted to just do it as soon as the episode started. Like, that's what we wanted to start with. It's just good news. I have lupus. It's an autoimmune disease. It's like 35 weeks in.
Yeah.
So it's due any day now. It's just like I'm really excited for this new chapter in my life.
Yeah.
So I'm so excited for you guys to join my journey.
There's gonna be a lot of ups and downs.
Absolutely, but I'm so ready for the new challenge. I just love an adventure.
That's all you want in a girl?
I just love a girl that likes a bit of adventure.
Yeah.
Crack a cold one open, come on an adventure, which probably means do a Macca's run at 3 a.m. in my fucking car.
And then leave me alone to be with the boys.
Yeah. Saturdays are for the boys, bitch. I've been on Tinder for too long. I think it's stunted me as a person. It's turned me into an absolute cynic. And it kind of makes me realize that, like, I'm just a fucking weird person myself. Like, that's why I'm on there too. I'm kind of just as bad as the rest of them.
But it's a different flavor of weird.
Yeah, it's kind of like pass the time weird, not I might murder you in the back of my car if we ever meet.
Yeah, you're like when you go in for a gummy and instead of it being like a standard cola or orange, it's like watermelon. And you're like, ooh, this is unexpected, but maybe even arguably more than I had anticipated. As opposed to a lot of people are like, if you lean in and it's just like that chocolate gummy flavor, which is maybe the most uncomfortable thing to bite into.
I didn't realize there was a chocolate gummy flavor.
Yeah, well, Allen's used to have the ones called Chicos, which they have decided to rename because it's racist.
As well as Redskins.
Yeah. But those were chocolate gummy, which made them both disgusting because of its social context and flavor.
That is disgusting. I don't think that something so sweet should be so chewy.
Chocolate shouldn't be gummied.
No. And that's that was always my problem with those pineapple pieces you can get from New Zealand.
Pineapple lumps?
Yeah, I hate those. They're so
Oh,
gummy on the inside.
They're so good.
It's like it's almost
they're
like
not
a
gummy. They're chewy.
They're like a
man.
marshmallow, but
Yeah.
pineapple with chocolate
No, more
over it.
chewy than that.
Yeah, and that's the problem. It doesn't melt in your mouth like a marshmallow. It's just something you chew through. It
Nah,
tastes
yeah.
like rubber that's pineapple flavored and
Yeah.
coated in really cheap chocolate.
That's what's so good about it,
Do you want me to
baby.
just-
That's what's so good about it, baby.
If I found pieces of rubber and coated in chocolate, do you reckon you'd eat it?
No, but if you ask me to choose between like, if I'm having a delicious pineapple and I'm like, what could improve this? I would certainly put the number one as chewiness. I would like
But pineapples are chewy by themselves.
No, they're not.
Fresh pineapple is pretty chewy. It's got all that
it's
fiber in it.
It's fibrous. That's a bad chew.
It's a bad chew.
That's
a
a
bad
bad
chew is a
chew.
pineapple lump, man.
Bad chew, pineapple.
All right,
Pretty good chew, pineapple lumps. Best chew, baka.
I want whoever's listening to this to tell us what you prefer, fresh pineapple or pineapple lumps. If it's pineapple lumps, go fuck yourself. You're dead to me.
Email us at ratingdescending@gmail.com. What do you chew?
Yeah.
Hashtag chew.
What's your chew scale? Like, what's number one in your chew hierarchy? We want to know. So get in touch.
On a scale
Click
of 1
the link
to chewy.
below.
Mash that subscribe button and tell us what you chew.
Not smash it, mash it.
Mash
It's like a full palm, just fucking palming your keyboard.
Smush the subscribe button.
A smash seems so like direct as an action, but a mash is just scattered, man. Like it's got no direction. It's all force.
I think of it like in gaming with button mashing, where you press it repeatedly very quickly.
I think about it in the world of potato, you know? In the potato realm. That's a mash. Oh, baby, that's a mash, baby.
You got a mash going. This movie.
Oh, do we have to?
We do.
What if we just keep talking for a while and then just end the podcast real nice and quickly?
I really thought when we watched the first three, I was like, these are movies that are way too high on this list. These should be lower. Going in, I was like, I want it to be like big studio bullshit. You know, I am obsessed with that ergo wanting to do this. But once we finally reached the first one that fits that criteria, I was struck by how fucking stupid it is.
Again, like 2020's thrown a lot of curveballs at me, but I think my lowest moment this year was having to talk about this film with you a couple days ago and collapsing as a human being. Yeah, there were other factors, but really it was Zoolander 2 that pushed me over the edge. Like that was it for me.
Yeah.
But I agree. It was absolutely nonsense. It gave me a headache. It made me feel nauseous.
It did.
And I'm not exaggerating there. It made me feel physically ill to watch it.
Yeah, some movies leave me feeling bored or frustrated. This one just made me feel bad, just as a person.
Yeah.
Physically.
This film broke me, man. It broke me. I've had to rebuild since Zoolander 2.
And there's allegedly 246 movies worse than this one. So continuing the theme of figuring out the actual scale of the task before us, this definitely helps hammer that home.
Yeah.
Is that these can get this bad.
Yes. So, like, it's upsetting because we're millennials. Obviously, we grew up watching a lot of frat pack films. And Zoolander is so funny. It's so good.
Zoolander 1 is fantastic.
Yeah, we watched it together. We had a great time.
Holds
Lots of
up.
laughs. And it's silly, but it knows it. And it still has
knows
enough
it.
smart jokes
Yeah.
to pull through.
It's silly done in a smart way.
Yes.
It's really tight direction as
Yeah.
well. The directing never gets in the way.
Ben
The
Stiller
editing is tight.
surprisingly good in that respect. He wrote and directed the original Zoolander, and he did it really well.
Yeah, he's funny without being annoying. Will Ferrell does the weird tightrope act of being not annoying but still silly that he normally just veers into aggressively annoying.
Yeah,
Like,
annoying and not funny.
yeah, annoying and not funny.
Yeah.
This-
Zoolander 1 has a lot of great parts to it. It's a great watch, and we have a lot of nostalgia for that film. And
Yeah.
it makes me sad because I realize this is the only, I mean, in a good way, this is the only frat pack film on the list. So for the rest of the podcast, we may never talk about the frat pack again.
we now know this is the lowest Ben Stiller and Owen Wilson go.
Yeah, but
This
we
is
don't
their
know
bottom.
if that's the case for Will Ferrell or Vince Vaughn, who I feel are more
No,
questionable.
he's
in
he's
frat
on the
pack
list
group.
again.
Yeah, what movie is he in?
The remake of Psycho.
I'm gonna wage you a bet.
Okay.
I don't think that's a term. Wage you a bet. I'm gonna bet you a wager.
I don't think that's
give
a
you a
term.
wager.
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw you a wager. Hang on, let's just suss this out for a second. I'll sling you a a question. No, I'll bet you.
Yeah. There it is.
Made it. That Will Ferrell shows up again 2 times.
Okay. What do I get if that's not true?
You get to hold it over me.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, I think we'd both enjoy that
Yeah.
in a sexy way.
Nah.
Demi.
Eh.
Will Ferrell is gonna be in this list twice, bitch.
All right.
Anyway. Yeah, Will Ferrell is annoying. Anyway, so
It's a good summary.
Thank you. Yeah, so Zoolander 1 is great. Zoolander 2 is an absolute disaster. Now, a couple things about the film is that Zoolander 2 was also written and directed by Ben Stiller as well. It's the same guy doing all the same stuff. Here's a little overview of the plot so you can wrap our heads around it. After the Derek Zoolander Center for Kids Who Can't Read Good collapsed, killing Matilda Jeffries and injuring Hansel, and losing custody of his son Derek Jr., a retired Zoolander is living in seclusion and disgrace. After he and Hansel are persuaded to attend a fashion show in Rome to make their return to the spotlight, they realize that they're now obsolete in the world of fashion. After they get humiliated on the runway, they're approached by Valentina Valencia from Fashion Interpol, tracking a series of celebrity murders in Rome. Derek soon finds out his son, Derek Jr., is in Rome at a nearby orphanage. But Derek Jr. is fat, and the father and son struggle to connect. That's the best I could explain it. They meet with Sting, who tells them the tale of Adam and Eve and the little-known Steve, the common ancestor of all models. Finding out Derek Jr. holds the bloodline of the Fountain of Youth, Derek returns to the orphanage to protect him, only to find it in disrepair and his son and the headmaster gone. The headmaster, notably, is the evil DJ from Zoolander 1.
Mm-hmm.
Quickly piecing together Mugatu is behind this all, he heads to the fashion prison Mugatu is incarcerated in. Mugatu tricks him into trading places with him so he can escape. He makes it back to Rome and readies the sacrifice of Derek Jr. Derek, Valentina, and Hansel rush back to stop the sacrifice, taking place during the Incredible, but find it was a trap. After a nonsensical fight, pulling out his magnum stare, Derek is able to stop Derek Jr. from being harmed, and they manage to blow up Mugatu and kill him. Derek Jr. forgives his father for his mother's death, and Derek and Valentina confess their love for each other with Matilda's blessing.
Hey,
The end.
That's probably the tightest overview you could do.
It was tighter than the ones that I found online.
Yeah, and that overview, it sounds dense. It sounds like there's a lot that happens in the movie, and I'm shocked by how loose the movie is.
Yeah.
Huge swaths of it feel like nothing happens.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think when we were last recording this episode, my brain couldn't piece the film together to talk about it coherently. Well, it's nonsense. None of this will make sense.
It kind of feels like a mini-series compacted into one season, but a bad mini-series too.
Yeah.
It has so many plots that start and stop, you know? Them going to Rome feels like one thing, but that's like done within the first act. And then it feels like his goal is to get back Derek Jr., but then Valentina just says, oh, he's at this orphanage where he's also wearing a uniform, and that's a whole thing I have an issue with.
Yeah.
And then he just has Derek Jr., and there's like 40 minutes there where nothing happens. Before Mugatu comes back and a new plot emerges. It's 3 movies on top of each other.
Yeah, I realized that the weakest point of the film is when Valentina comes up to them being like, oh, all these celebrities are dying from the blue steel expression. Like, they're all dying with this blue steel expression. Can you tell us about it, Zoolander? And then he's like, that's not blue steel. And then a series of discoveries and things happen in which they realize that Derek is in Rome. And that bit of the film where they're just talking about stuff is the weakest bit of the film.
100%.
It's all explaining things away and then like these loose things that connect together to keep the story moving forward.
Well, because that's the space in between movie 2 and 3.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's the overview of the film. There's definitely lots of highlights in it.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say lots, but there's definitely some.
Lots of things that happen in it.
There we go.
My personal favorite part of the film is that at the beginning, Hansel's storyline is whack in the film because like he's also secluding himself in the middle of a desert.
Yeah.
And he lives with his orgy of 11 people, who is headed by Kiefer Sutherland.
Who is actually kind of funny in this.
Yeah.
Kiefer Sutherland is good in this.
And
it's telling that the only non-comedian actor who has a role is the funniest person in it, though.
I find this film weird because as I'm thinking about it more, I'm like, you know what?
Yeah.
This film is about fathers and children, man.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful. It's deep. this theme runs rich through the script. It's rampant because Derek has lost custody of his son, right?
Yeah.
And he has to fight to get him back. That's why he's going to the fashion show at the beginning, the inciting incident. The reason he says yes to Billy Zane showing up on his doorsteps being like, you should come to this fashion show to get approval from the world again is because he wants approval from his son.
Yeah.
You know, he needs the respect and love of his son back, even though he tries to reject him from being fat. And Hansel's storyline, Hansel's emotional arc is that his orgy are all pregnant and they're all going to have children. And Hansel has to stop being a child and has to become a father. And so does Derek, man. It's about being a father, man. That's a clear thematic statement. The more I think about it, the more it gets me. Because I've got a dad.
That's true.
I've been baby.
You've been baby.
I'm still baby.
You're still baby. Hey.
If I ever have a kid, I'll watch Zoolander 2 to get some tips. They went through it too.
They went through it. They got
Yeah.
it. Well, that's the bit that gets me. Like this movie, it's not like this movie has nothing going for it. It's that the movie constantly has like the first quarter or first third of a cohesive thought and then not finishing it. So
Yeah.
like that being the thematic statement is true, except for none of the movie after 20 minutes in is about that.
That makes me sympathize with the film so much more though, because every goddamn moment of my life I have a thought that I can't finish. I like Zoolander 2 and I'm not a cohesive person.
But as an artwork, it bothers me.
What about me as an artwork?
It bothers me
Masterpiece.
sometimes.
Masterpiece.
It bothers me.
That I'm a masterpiece.
That's a pretty good turnaround. Yeah, that's what gets me. Like, there's a lot of jokes in this that are the first half of a joke, and we never find out what the actual end of it is. You know, there's jokes that Hansel has about his polycule being pregnant. That is like the men in that grouping being pregnant is not a full joke. It's like the first part of a joke, and then tiny Fred Armisen with Fred Armisen's head on it, bringing them around and having it be ultra hipster is the setup for a joke that there's no punchline. Like there's no.
Sorry, my brain definitely, out of a trauma response, wiped the memory of Fred Armisen in this film.
It's nightmare
completely
fuel.
out. Yeah, and he only exists in the film for one scene, for one cause, which is to show them around the fashion show that they're then humiliated at.
Yeah.
But they've superimposed his head onto a small person's body and made him look like an 11-year-old child.
Yeah.
It's horrific.
It's really uncomfortable, and it's not a full joke, is what I'm saying.
No, it's not. And it is. It's full of like the whispers of jokes.
Yeah.
It's the beginning of jokes. You can tell it's written by funny people.
Yeah.
That just can't land a joke for some reason. And I feel like they set the audience against them from the get-go, because they're like, Derek Zoolander and Hansel are obsolete. And then they spend the first act just showing us why they're obsolete and how they should be obsolete. And we're like, yeah, go home. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want you in this world either. If you're going to be offensive to non-binary people, to just anything that you don't understand in general, there's just this, we talked about this, there's this disgusting attitude of entitlement and being like, I don't understand the world, so it's the world that's wrong. They are literally embodiment of Skinner being like, no, it's the children that are wrong.
Yeah, it's cranky old man energy.
Yeah.
The whole movie, like, I can't believe they took the character of Derek Zoolander and made him a vehicle for boomers and Gen Xers being angry at modern culture.
Yeah.
For all the same reasons that they were angry at general advertising culture, but they're no longer punching down, they're punching up.
They're absolutely, well, they're no longer punching up, they're punching down.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Yeah, because, the first film is this great take on the fashion world and how it's, like, hypocritical and vapid and ridiculous, and the whole derelict show is a great example of that. And then in this one, they're just saying how the fashion show, that the fashion world is stupid because they don't get it.
Yeah.
That's not interesting. That's not funny.
No, yeah. It's funny when Derek Zoolander is the epitome of model culture. And then we're making fun of him, but he's also a vehicle for making fun of the general overall thing.
Yeah.
Now he's an outsider making fun of what they think of youth culture incorrectly, and also, as we said, non-binary people, and just like making fun of all of these things that Zoolander is not privy to.
Yeah.
And it makes him less sympathetic.
I feel like this movie was built in 3 segments. The first sequence of the film is like Zoolander 1, but way worse, where they're kind of recounting what happens straight after Zoolander 1 and how Derek gets to where he is.
In the longest and most aggressive motion graphic sequence I've ever seen.
But it feels like Zoolander, but like 10 times worse.
Yeah.
And then we move into sequence 2, which takes place around Rome, and I think of it as a Da Vinci Code knockoff.
Yes.
Where they're in a lot of churches, it's very like mysterious and dark, and Penelope Cruz is there looking beautiful. And then you head into Act 3, which is kind of like a bad Indiana Jones.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, because they're like doing these weird parodies and takes on a lot of adventure films and action films. It's just an absolute fuckfest of a film.
You know what else they do in Act 3 that
What?
really bothered me? So when we see Mugatu in the Fashion Police prison, they do the same thing they did in Austin Powers 3, Goldmember, with the hero of the previous movie and the villain of the previous movie engaging while one is in prison, but they're actually using it as a means to escape. And Goldmember is not the best movie by any means, but God, does it do that sequence way better than this?
Yeah, and it was obviously a parody on Austin Powers, and it was like.
But that's already a parody.
That's what I was about to say. You can't satire a satire. They've already done it. What are you making fun of at this point? You're just showing us that Mike Myers is funnier than you.
It's a mirror image of a reflection. It's
Yeah, and so for me, I think that the film is rich in a strong theme around family and fatherhood.
Yeah.
What did you get out of it?
What I got out of it is that Ben Stiller really presents Christine Taylor for their divorce. That was one of the main things I got out of it.
Especially how they wrote in the fact that she was like, Derek, I am really into you and Penelope Cruz ending up together. You have my blessing. Go fuck her. Why do I care? I'm dead.
I totally forgive you. Why don't you go fuck younger women?
And as you said, she was obviously like in a completely different studio recording that. I don't think they even had to look at each other in the face in the process of making this film.
Yeah. They also wanted to find a way to make fun of fat people without being told that they're bad people for doing that.
A classic line is Hansel being like, he's not a bad person because he's fat. He's not a good person. But he's not a bad person.
Which he says.
And that wasn't a joke.
He says in between making fun of him for being fat.
Yeah.
It's not the cap to that conversation. It's the middle of a conversation about how it's awful that he's fat.
If you're going to make a joke about a person being fat phobic, you have to end the joke with them also realizing that it's wrong to be fat phobic. And he doesn't really make it there.
Yeah.
He accepts Derek, but he doesn't accept him for being fat.
Yeah.
He accepts him as his son, who is plus sized.
Yeah, he kind of still doesn't like that he's fat. He only likes him because he can define away his fatness.
Yeah.
Which is not really a very buddy positive way of doing that.
No. Yeah, if you're going to take Derek if you're going to point out, like, I don't like my son because he's fat, and Hansel's like, wait, man, that's not good. You have to end that arc with him being a better person.
Yeah.
Didn't happen.
Didn't happen
at all. I think that Sting was a real standout in the whole thing. Not because he was good or that he was necessary, just because, like, I think that's the part of the film that broke me the most, was Sting turning up in the middle of a confessional booth.
I think Sting could have been the best part of this movie, but was used incorrectly. Because I really liked Sting in Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, right? As the main guy's dad. He's only there at the beginning where he says, get my money back because I'm not going to lose my bar. And then at the end where he says, yeah, cool, you got the money back, but you're still in deep shit, my son. And that's great. That plays to Sting's strengths, which is not at acting, but just as being this charismatic presence. In this movie, I feel like he's used worse as time goes on. I didn't like him in the third act. I thought him in the confessional scene was like funny, but then that scene went for too long.
Yeah. And then when he does turn up, because I'm so proud of myself for this. When we're in the first act, you see Hansel say that he never knew who his dad was, that he was just some beat cop. And then they see Sting in the booth and he's like, do you have anything to say to me, Hansel? And I was like, oh, fuck, he's his dad. And then he comes back for Act 3, and when they've got Mugatu in this hold, a bomb in a hold, Derek's magnum stare has stopped a bomb from hitting the lava. And now it's up to Hansel and Sting to aid him in hovering it in the air and making sure it doesn't reach the lava. And that's when you find out that Sting is Hansel's dad. And it's beautiful. I told you, it's all about fathers, man.
In a very muddled
So many layers.
Star Wars reference, because he definitely is doing Obi-Wan, but Obi-Wan is not anyone's dad.
Yeah.
He's very specifically one of the only characters in the entire Star Wars franchise who's not someone's dad.
Yeah, and that's disappointing because I know Ben Stiller knows Star Wars.
Yeah.
He knows how to do the parody right. He's also a massive Star Trek fan. All of his Zoolander 1 and 2 names are based on Star Trek names.
Yeah. This also is what I was saying before about setups with no punchlines. Like, the setup of him going, oh yeah, my dad was a beat cop, and then later it's revealed that Sting is his dad because he's a member of the police, is half a joke. But that the punchline doesn't match the payoff, which makes it more like dramatic foreshadowing, but it's not dramatic or interesting.
It's almost just like dramatic wordplay, you know?
That's it. It's dramatic wordplay.
It's maybe a joke you'd say in passing to someone at a party.
It could be a joke. It could be a pretty funny joke, I think. But it isn't in this movie.
Yeah. So it's kind of upsetting because I was thinking about Jerry Stiller in this film who made like a brief appearance
Yeah.
in it for a second. I think he was in there for all of like a flash of 10 seconds as Maury Bullstein. But Jerry Seinfeld, wow. Jerry Stiller is great. And he had an incredible 60 plus year career. And his last film credit was Zoolander 2.
Yeah.
That's disheartening.
He deserves justice.
He does.
We should well, no, wait. I was going to say we should Bela Lugosi him because I was thinking of him being in Plan 9 from Outer Space, but that's a movie that should be on this list. So that's not a very good idea. Don't Bela Lugosi him. Do the good.
Let's just do an old-fashioned grave robbery.
Yeah.
Dig that sucker up.
What was that one with Heath Ledger, The Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus, where it was his last role, but he'd only shot like a third of it, so then he got replaced by Colin Farrell and Johnny Depp or something.
Oh.
Did you ever see that one?
Mr. Megorium's Wonder Emporium.
That's right.
No, I don't think that's what it is.
No,
that was Dustin Hoffman.
Yeah. No, I think it is The Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus then.
I
always
right.
get that one confused with what you just said.
Right.
We should do that with Jerry Stiller. Make him play a third of one movie and then...
Or we could like weekend at Barney's with him.
Weekend at Bernie's? I think
Barney's. We could weekend at Bernie's with him.
I think
and
it's
just
way
prop him
too
up.
late to do that.
What were you talking about? You don't know how they've preserved him.
That's true.
Could be in immaculate condition. He was rich, man.
It's true, but ghoulish.
So they call me Abigail. Let's do it. That'd be really cute.
Cute is the last thing I would describe. Grabbing Jerry Stiller's long dead body and reanimating him for this movie.
Yeah, but it'd be hilarious. Like, what hijinks will we get up to, like, with him? And also,
you're right. It would be pretty funny.
What a feature piece for the living room. Like, we could prop him up in that armchair, and people come over and like, "What's that?" And we're like, "It's Jerry Stiller."
Nah, I hate
taxidermied. What do you think?
This is the worst, and I hate it.
You'll come around to it.
Okay, I'll eventually get it.
Yeah. I'm doing a Bunnings order soon, so I might get a couple shovels while I'm at it.
Speaking of things being past their time, one thing I really wanted to talk about with this movie is how it came out in 2016, but all of its cultural references feel like they're from 2010. Like,
yes.
Billy Zane shows up and he has Netflix, and he's like, I have your Netflix, and it's the actual DVD mail order service, but I'm pretty sure Netflix stopped doing DVDs by 2016. Also, hipster culture, the way he assumes hipster culture is a lot more, again, 2010 than 2016. Like, it feels like it came out outdated.
And that's because Ben Stiller started writing the script in like 2008.
Yeah.
And I think we both realized that it just never updated. Because it came out 8 years later and it was making references that were 6 to 8 years old.
Yeah, but they have no concept of the culture. I guess Zoolander 1 makes fun of modeling and advertising very well because at least it understands how advertising works, and that means that they can understand what makes it kind of evil. This has no understanding of modern culture, and so it can't make fun of it successfully.
What do you mean? It has Ariana Grande and Skrillex and Joe Jonas for a moment. That's just so hip, and I love that.
Skrillex wasn't on brand for 2016
no,
youth
Skrillex was
culture.
peak 2010, right?
Yeah.
I agree. It's absolutely anachronistic as a film, and I love it.
It also means, like, I don't know who this movie's for, because having a scene go from the presence of Susan Sarandon as a cameo to Katy Perry means that I don't know whether it's for 20-year-olds or whether it's for 45-year-olds who missed the glory days of being 30 in 2002.
That's what I liked about this film. It was just cameo whiplash. You'd see one face, and then you'd swing over to another, and every time it would shock you. You'd be like, what is Neil deGrasse Tyson doing in this? What's Willie Nelson doing in this? And you just keep fucking swiveling.
But it meant that it wasn't for anyone. It was just like a road show of the most popular faces of the last 40 years.
Yeah, it was a it was a desperate bid to just pull in people. It's what they could market it with in the trailers. If you watch the trailer, it's just all the cameos.
But I can't imagine anyone enjoying this in general. But I specifically can't imagine anyone under the age of 35 taking any joy out of it.
I don't think anyone over the age of 35 took any joy out of it either.
I think they maybe took some joy at being mean to youth people.
I was really surprised. So I love Roger Ebert.
Yeah.
As a film critic. And I like reading his site because usually I feel like I can generally agree with their view on things.
Yeah.
I was shocked to find out that Zoolander 2 received a 3 out of 4 rating.
3 out of 4.
3 stars out of 4. That's a 75% approval rate.
Jesus.
From Roger Ebert, saying at the beginning, I didn't think that this film was necessary, but I was wrong. And I read the first paragraph of where it was really roasting it. It was really laying into it as an idea, as a premise, as a film. And then it just fucking 180'd on me.
Yeah.
And was like, but it's really fun and silly and goofy. And I was like, what fucking side am I on? Like, I had to double check I was on the right side.
Was he still alive, or was that just from his site?
He died in like 2013.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah, so it's just like a bunch of people that work for the company.
In his twilight years, and then later after he died, like, they got really generous with the stars. They would still be mean in the content of the review.
It wasn't him a lot of the time. It'd be on his site with other people rating for him, especially as he got older.
But I feel like the content, the reviews would often still read as a 1 or a 2 star.
Yeah.
And then it would just get 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Which I wonder if that's like a marketing thing.
What I love about Roger Ebert is that he's always ready to be like, I was wrong. Like, I remember this famous story about The Graduate. When The Graduate came out, obviously The Graduate is notorious for having the soundtrack completely done by Simon and Garfunkel, who were they weren't very well known at that time.
No.
And he kept using pieces of Scarborough Fair and Mrs. Robinson and Sound of Silence. And the soundtrack came out and months afterwards became a total hit. But when Roger Ebert went to go see the film, he was like, good film, terrible soundtrack, most forgettable people you'd ever think of, like Simon and Garfunkel, who? And then a couple months later, he made a big apology being like, I was wrong. You guys are great.
Yeah.
He does that all the time. But either way, I was shocked that a couple of big reviewers gave it quite good scores. However, I've got some really good terrible reviews.
Yes, please.
One of my favorite ones is film critic Leonard Moulton, who stated on his website that this is the first movie he has ever walked out on in his professional career. He said that he had an immediate reaction of annoyance and impatience, and that the film was stupid right from the start, and that he left before an hour had passed. That's what I mean. Like, this film broke me. It also broke this man too, and that's comforting.
He's a famous critic.
Shared trauma. And I was looking on good old Rotten Tomatoes, which I find still to be a weird site. But there was a lot of talk about like the cameos in particular, which I loved. But this was, they said Zoolander 2 is heavy on cameos, but light on laughs.
It's true.
Solid burn.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. I can't summarize it any better. It is a movie that is an excuse to get to the next cameo.
Yeah, I remember fucking David Edelstein, who I love.
Yeah.
His review was 2 sentences. How bad is Zoolander 2? It's Batman and Robin bad. Best review I've ever read.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate.
Yeah, it's a dire time on Rotten Tomatoes. I absolutely recommend going through the reviews. I want you to guess how long you think it took them to shoot the film.
Oh God. I mean, the whole thing is definitely an excuse for a holiday in Rome, which to me suggests they didn't want to shoot for very long. So maybe 30 days.
It took 97 days.
97 days?
Yeah.
It took 3 months?
A bit over 3 months.
I guess it is expensive.
It's expensive, but what were they shooting?
Yeah, there's not much content there.
No.
A lot of the scenes are quite long without much happening. It's not like there's a lot of shots.
100%. 100%. And like as you say, I think it's a paid holiday in Rome, but there's not that many shots of Rome. And I found
That's
out that they
true.
did most of they shot most of the film in Rome,
Oh.
which meant that they found a studio in Rome and then just shot on the streets of Rome.
Because they wanted to have a holiday in Rome.
I honestly think you're right.
Yeah. It's the Happy Madison thing of like, let's have an excuse to shoot in a fancy location with all my friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. But somehow worse. There's actually very few Sandler movies on this list.
I know. I'm shocked by that.
No, I gotta give him that credit, man. Like, I don't like almost any of his movies, but I gotta give him credit. They're bad, but they're not this bad.
He never made a Happy Gilmore 2, did he?
No, he didn't.
No, he never did.
No.
No, he didn't.
I mean,
That's what I thought.
all 5 of those movies he made at the early 2000s were the same movie with a different
How
woman.
dare you talk about Billy Madison that way? That film is gold. That film is beautiful. It had Steve Buscemi.
They all had Steve Buscemi.
It didn't have Rob Schneider, I don't think, so that had it in its favor.
That's true.
Yeah. I
So-
kind of wish there would be more Adam Sandler films. I'd love to dissect them. a
Oh,
bit
we'll
more.
just go on Netflix. Oh, you mean on this? Well, okay, so what's your rating then? What was the rating of this on IMDb?
4.7.
4.7.
Had 4.7 stars on
Okay.
IMDb. My rating would be, I'm trying to be fair and think about it in my scale, in my head. It's still a film.
Yeah.
It still exists as a film. It still was made and people have watched it, and that's good,
Yeah.
you know? Had 1 or 2 funny moments. I'm going to give it a 2 out of 10.
2 out of 10?
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's fair.
Yeah. Just because of the way it made me feel.
It did make you feel pretty bad.
Yeah. I had to have a lie down.
Yeah.
Like after my little temper tantrum, I had to have a 10-minute lie down after watching that film.
You did.
So, you know what? Fuck it. I give it a 1 out of 10. It fucking broke me. Done.
So for me, like I'm a big believer in using the numbers as what the numbers mean. You know, there's a lot of things like on IMDb below a 7 is bad, but 7 is above average. you
Yeah.
know?
I plan to really just not adhere to a scale or system. I think I'll rate as I please. It's gonna be fucking bonkers.
I want it that like 5 is neutral. 5 is those movies that you don't leave going, I had a bad time, but you certainly leave going, I'm never gonna think about this again.
Yeah.
That's a 5, right?
Yeah.
A 7 is still pretty good.
Yeah.
For me.
Mm.
A 7 is Spider-Man Homecoming. It's like a 7. It was pretty good. I didn't think it was the best Marvel movie. It had problems, but I had a good time. Like, that's a 7. So on that scale, then I would give it a 3, right? Like, it made me feel bad.
Yeah.
I would argue outside of the motion graphic sequences, it was like more cohesively made than more cohesively made than Meet the Blacks.
Yeah.
Which didn't have competency on any level.
Yeah.
This,
I
like,
think objectively it's better than Meet the Blacks.
I think the main fault in it is with the writing and with everyone's performance. I think the direction is just meh. And I
Yeah.
think the cinematography it's weird. It's very dark and it's very saturated, and I hate looking at it.
Yeah.
But I don't hate looking at it as much as I hated looking at Meet the Blacks.
This is what I like about this, though. It's such a personal scoring. Like,
Yeah.
I think that Meet the Blacks was worse than this film, but I've rated this film lower because Meet the Blacks didn't make me cry.
That's true.
So,
But I really started whinging and wriggling about an hour through Meet the Blacks, wanting it to be over.
I like the way that we have different reactions to these films. But pretty much through every film, at one point you start kicking your legs and thrashing, being like, make it end! Which I enjoy. It's the highlight of my week.
Watching me squirm.
Yeah, this is actually like a long protruded...
Protruded?
Prolonged? Let me start again. This is actually a long protruded... No. This is just a really long exercise in tormenting you.
Yeah, it does feel that. Well, it feels like self-inflicted torture.
Yeah.
It's like if in a video game where there's shooting and there's an option in the menus where you can turn friendly fire off. It's like that, and then I immediately start pointing a gun at the ground. Like,
This is I think this is like a long exercise in masochism,
Yeah.
which is hot.
But for entertainment.
Hot.
Yeah, you're right.
Are you guys as turned on as we are right now? For me, it was all Hansel.
That's saying something. Okay, I will say, in the first movie, he's certainly the most believable of the main characters to be a model and a handsome man.
Yeah, I'm always shocked that Owen Wilson is far more handsome than I recollect. You know, I
Yeah.
watched him in the first Zoolander, and I was like, oh no, yeah, he's got those chiseled the chiseled cheeks and the weird nose that gives him a really interesting feature.
But he has an everyman quality to
Yeah,
him. That's why
yeah.
you don't remember how sexy he is.
No, for me, it was probably Kiefer Sutherland as the head of the orgy. That just got me hot and heavy.
Yeah, that was some good going.
Is there room for a 12th?
For me, it was Christine Taylor's ghost forgiving Derek Zoolander for his crimes in marriage.
Actually, no, I recant mine again. It was definitely Fred Armisen superimposed onto a tiny man's body.
Ugh. I would retitle this movie "The Unsuccessful Rehabilitation of Ben Stiller and Owen Wilson." That's my title for this movie, and it has a 3 out of 10.
Fair enough. Yeah, that's Zoolander 2. We got through it.
Yeah.
We survived it. For a couple of days there, I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
But we're on the other side of it. We have so many more bad films to come.
We do.
What's the bad film next week?
So next week we have The Twilight Saga: New Moon.
I am so fucking excited for it.
I'm looking forward to this one.
Let's delve in.
Let's do it.
Bye.
Fuck!
What? Me.